This video is going to focus in on a coaster deep dive that I promised a while back, Lightning Rod, one of my favorite rides, probably number 2 overall, my favorite ride at Dollywood, but it has had a very up and down history, pun intended, so let's get into it. Lightning Rod was announced to be open back in 2015 by Rocky Mountain Construction, or RMC, fastest wooden coaster and first ever launched wooden coaster. So this was a big deal and came with a hefty price tag, but it was going to change the way Dollywood looked and definitely in a different area of the park rather than the rest of the throw rides. Normally, if you've been to Dollywood or if you haven't, you go to the left and you can go up, and that's where you'll find a lot of the coasters after you go up a bit of the hill. This one takes you to the right and over, and that is where Lightning Rod is, so it's in a different section of the park, so that changed a bit of things, but it's definitely had a trouble history since it was supposed to open in March of 2016. It was delayed. Then it opened on June 13th, closed 5 days later. RMC asked for a recall of a mechanical component used for the ride. Technically, it opened on June 22nd, but not really because it was so off and down due to technical rehearsals. And then September 5th, it fully opened. We're all excited. It's great. And I would ride this for the first time and 49 more times that night in December. My first thoughts, intense, unique, fun, and definitely a front row ride, but terrible leg restraints. We'll get into that later. But a little bit of a rattle in the back row. Front row, awesome, and it was at full power at that point in time. They hadn't done anything to the launch, and man, it packed a punch. Jumping ahead to 2018, it was closed for 3 months. Yeah, it's down again, this time from July to October. I was there during that time, and yeah, sad. 2019, pretty good year. I believe, I'm not 100% positive, but I believe this was the year the zero car or front car was removed, and that created an amazing experience. Front row was just wide open. I did it several times. If it would have had the full launch with that zero car, I think it would have been absolutely perfect, but the launch had been toned back a little bit, which, as I said, we'll get into later. Apparently, I just want to keep pushing that off to the end. But the zero car was removed. You were so free. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage of that because that was before the channel. But oh, it was amazing when you were just open and there was no front car that you see right here. That was gone. 2020 closed again, this time partially retracked to RMC iBox instead of all topper track. Unofficial reports say it was due to stress being put on parts of the track, so that's why they had to make it the full iBox. These haven't been substantiated, but those are the reports that are circling there. In 2021, opened back up with the launch and the quad down retrack to the iBox, and it was running fairly consistently when it first opened, but that has changed since, which I will wrap up this video with some interesting news that I got while I was there. Reports of a slower launch. Like I said earlier, this is not technically true according to what I have researched. The launch is just as fast, but the top fins providing the launch over top where you were just whipped over are now gone, which means the launch doesn't last as long as you don't get that forceful impact over the top. You slow down going over the top, and yes, it's noticeable based on how much airtime you get. If you've ridden it before, it's still a fun experience. It's still fun, but you do not get ejected out over the top as much as you have. Total ride experience in 2021 with just over half the track being iBox track and not just topper track. I can feel a slight difference. However, that's just nitpicking. I love this ride. It's my favorite ride at Dollywood. My second favorite ride overall, I think, and the ride is just spectacular. The ejector airtime, particularly in the quad down, is awesome, and my favorite part is where you're going sideways, and it's phenomenal airtime. This was my first RMC, and it lived up to the hype. It also led to one of my friends hating me for putting him on it. He was not expecting it, and he was not happy that I put him on it. It's been a bummer because the last 3 times I've been to Dollywood, including my first ever video for the Coaster channel, and it's been down. And I was just there on Wednesday with the family, and it was down again, and it was closed for the entire day right when we got there, just after park opened, basically. And it was like, this is frustrating. This is getting ridiculous. This is getting really old. So I emailed guest services, and I actually got a response. I've tweeted multiple times, never got anything, but I emailed and got a response. And what it says from Dollywood Guest Services, thank you for your email. On Friday, September 24th, the Lightning Rod roller coaster had a train that rolled back into the station, striking an empty train. The train rolling back into the station was loaded with passengers, but no significant injuries were reported. The ride is closed pending a complete investigation. At this time, we do not know when that investigation will be completed. I have seen video on YouTube, not in person, and I have heard that Lightning Rod rolls back, so it must have gone into the station and bumped from what this note says, and who knows when this is going to open, but it's definitely been an up and down experience for Lightning Rod. When it's open, you must ride it. It's incredible. The only downside is the leg restraints. For someone who, I'm 6'5", so when I'm in there, it's so painful on the legs with the ejector airtime and how you're fastened in there, but I will definitely take it because there's no over-the-shoulder harnesses on Rocky Mountain construction rides, and that is just perfect because you're getting whipped around, and I'd much rather have that in the terrible leg restraints, although it does make it where I have to finagle my way in sometimes to get the light to harness down because my legs are so long. I block the little bumper, but unfortunately, Lightning Rod has not been running the last 3 times I've been there, and it does not look like it'll be running for quite a bit longer. Hopefully, it opens back up, and you get to ride this amazing ride.